So we are in the 5th day of our journey. Baruch Hashem, so far going well. And I spoke about it briefly when we started. Now we'll elaborate on that a little bit more. And I said, some of it was off the camera on Shabbat, and then Sunday we did some of it, that there were a few sins that Korach did that are kind of equivalent to the spies, but since the parashat of Shlach and Korach and all these parashot are together, and there is a common denominator. But with Korach, he had a few things. The first one, that he had jealousy. He was jealous of Moshe. He was of being the leader. He was jealous of Aaron a Kohen, that he wanted to also be a Kohen Gadol. And then he was jealous of Elitzapan ben Uziel, that got appointed to be the head of the tribe instead of him, even though he's much older and coming from an older brother, a Bechor. So first of all, one big problem was jealousy. And we already explained that jealousy is one of the worst character traits, that the Mishnah says that a person that is jealous, it will kill him. It eventually will get him out of this world. So, and we see that. And not only that, Shlomo HaMelech, the wisest man of all history, says, Rekev atzamot kinah, person that has jealousy in his heart, it will rot his bones from inside. Jealousy is bemet one of the worst character traits a person can have, and very hard to also get rid of. So Korach had jealousy. Then he had another problem, of course, Lashon Hara, didn't know how to keep his mouth shut, and that cost him his life. And the last thing that Korach had, that we spoke about it in length on Shabbat, he was very judgmental. He saw a situation, and he didn't judge it right, and that was the beginning of the end. Korach had, at some level of Ruach HaKodesh, he had some type of divine inspiration to see a little bit forward. After all, don't forget, that was the generation of the desert. They saw Hashem with their own eyes, heard Hashem speak, very high level generation. Don't forget that the food that they ate was spiritual. They didn't have problems there with food. I mean, of course, I'm not talking about the time that they wanted meat, but I'm talking even their food was spiritual. They were in a very high level. So Korach had a little bit of divine inspiration, what's called Ruach HaKodesh, and he saw that from his lineage comes out Shmuel HaNavi, Shmuel the prophet. And it says that Shmuel was equivalent to Moshe and Aaron. So he understood that Moshe is all wrong, that he should be the leader, and that of course caused him to start disagreements. So we're going to ignore for now the Lashon Hara. We'll ignore for now the jealousy. These are two obvious things, but we're going to focus today on the judging the situation wrong. Well, this is a very, very big problem with most people. Now, there is a tractate in the Mishna Avot, very short, it's Masechet Avot, Tractate Avot, and the ethics of the fathers. And really, when you go through the 6 chapters, you have probably the entire wisdom of the entire Torah wrapped up in a few pages. Very short sentences, very short Mishnayot, and straight to the point that go through those 6 chapters, it literally gives you the basics, exactly how it's called, the ethics of the fathers. And when I became observant, I went through them over and over and actually memorized it. I wanted to get to a point that when I walk in the street, there is a mitzvah when you walk in the street, it's called the Uvlechtecha Baderech. We read it in Shema, right? When we are reading about Kriyat Shema, it says, B'shochvecha uvekumecha, when you lie down and when you get up, meaning at night and in the evening, Uvelechtecha Baderech, when you're walking on the path, which means that if you're walking and you're just like looking like this at the stores, you can be charged with bitul Torah. You have to learn Torah as you're walking. And needless to say that this is a very good opportunity to do something, because if you're just walking and looking around, there's a very good chance you're going to come to the wrong thoughts, look to the wrong direction. But if you're busy in that 10 minutes walk with chanting, memorizing, speaking Torah, then you're safe. After all, the street is not safe at all. And there's pritzut, immodesty, many other things It can get you distracted. Today people are distracted by their own cell phone. They like walk like this and bump into the poles. So the mitzvah of Lech Techa V'derech is to chant Torah, talk Torah, learn Torah while you walk. So when I first became observant, I would memorize Tehillim, Mishnayot, that when I walk, I don't walk for free. I would, I don't know if the right word is to say chant, but I would talk. I would say Mishnayot off by heart. If somebody would look at me, I mean, that's when the Bluetooth came out, so I didn't look that crazy, but I would go and chant Mishnayot and Tehillim. So I would memorize the entire Pirkei Avot. And really, if you follow every advice they give you there, you'll become a total different person. So one of the advice that it says there, it says, "Le'olam heve adam, le'olam dan kol adam lekaf zchut." Always judge a person favorably. This is one Mishnah. And the second Mishnah, it says, "Le'olam al tadin et chavecha ad shetegia lemekomo." Never judge your fellow friend till you are in his shoes. Now, it's very easy to say. It's a very fancy slogan. It can easily go on a bumper sticker. But do you apply that? Most people don't. Most people, they judge situations with their physical eyes, and then, of course, with their coarse heart, and with their distorted mind. Very few people judge situations with their neshama, with their thought, with their soul, and with a spoon of some mercy. To get to a point that you're really looking at situations and judging them favorably, then you can already tap yourself on the back that you're doing pretty good. And why is the problem is? Because look at Korach. As great as he was, he judged the situation wrong. And because he judged it wrong, then it caused him jealousy. The jealousy birthed already the enough emotions to start slandering. That's why it says in the Mishnah, it says, "Akina, atava, hakavod, motzim et ha'odam min ha'olam." Akina is jealousy, te'ava is desires and lusts, for forbidden things, and kavod, pursuing honor and respect. All these three things, this is a prescription for a one-way ticket out of this world. But the Mishnah says, "Akina," the first one, which means that when a person applies that, or doesn't put it under control, know that it's very quickly before you're going to start feeling jealous, angry, and so forth, and that very quickly would lead most likely to Lashon Hara. Because when you're angry, you want to get back at somebody. You want to make sure, even if you don't do it with words, how many times somebody tells you, what do you think of so-and-so? You know, and sometimes you don't have to say anything. You just need to roll your eyes with an exaggerated expression. I don't know, no. So, you know, sometimes a face is worth 1,000 words. And don't think for 1 second that if you're rolling your eyes with the intention to make sure that the other person knows that you don't have good news about that person, and you make all sorts of growls, don't think that doesn't go under the category of Lashon Hara. Some people say, "I didn't say anything." Yeah, but you gave enough hints for me to know that something's fishy there. So what we want to take from that is Korach's downfall was judging the situation wrong. Now what I want to give over, and this is a big part of our self-refinement, and needless to say it will affect the entire planet, is how I judge each situation. And be honest with yourself, you don't have to convince me, and tell yourself how many times you really didn't judge the situation right. And you'll see that most of the times you don't judge it right. Now you have to ask yourself another question. When I figured out that I judged the situation wrong, what did I do about it? How many times did you come to somebody and apologize by saying, "I judged the situation wrong, and I want to ask forgiveness"? You didn't even say Lashon Hara, you didn't lie, you didn't slander, you didn't start World War, but you judged the person wrong, and you're thinking bad about somebody. And then you figure out, I was wrong, well, I didn't even know. Did you ever do something about it? Did you ever come to somebody and apologize by judging them wrong? Maybe you did. I'm not chas v'shalom putting you on the spot, but this is the questions you have to ask yourself. And then, of course, then you have to apply it that you can't judge a person without knowing enough details. And you know what? Even if the person is 100% guilty of what he's charged, you still can't be judgmental. Because you, in his place, would sin exactly the same. So the first Mishnah says, always judge a person favorably. Check. But the next Mishnah says, don't judge a person till you come to his place or wear his shoes, as they say in English. Because if you're in that situation, maybe you would sin just as much or even worse. So who are you to judge? And let's say somehow you are pious, and if you would be in that situation, you would not fail. Wouldn't you want, when chas v'shalom you fail, that people will judge you fair? So why are you judging another person? So he failed. Okay, let's give it to him. He did something wrong. He took money without permission, stole, cheated, whatever it is. Why, you so perfect? That you have the chutzpah to judge somebody else? Let's see how perfect you are. So it's very easy to put a finger on somebody else. The right way is to turn the finger right at me and say, okay, I see this person is 100% wrong. How many times was I wrong? Now, let's see now if you have enough courage to say on yourself, who am I kidding? I'm worse than this guy. Usually it will happen that you sit in a bet knesset, in a shul, and somebody walks in late, starts moving the table, and everybody's like, shh. And you're in your mind saying, look at that. Have no shame, coming half an hour late, disturbing the minyan. And in your mind, you're already building a whole case. Instead of saying, well, that's the first time I see him late. Ambo's late in the last 5 months 20 times. You don't do that. You're just seeing how he's late, huffing and puffing. Instead of saying, that poor guy, maybe something's going on at home. Maybe he couldn't find parking. Maybe his car was told he ran here. You didn't know really what happened. There's a famous story, and it's irrelevant if it's a made-up story or a real story. But there's a story that there was once a little town. Everybody knew everybody. And then came the holidays. Everybody was pledging for donations for whatever reason. And then, there was the Rabbi, the helper of the shul, that came and collected all the money. One individual pledged a certain amount. A few days later came. The Rabbi was not there. The rabbi was sitting there. The rabbi was sitting with an open book, learning. The guy came and said, I have something for the community. The rabbi says, listen, I don't deal with the money. Give it to the Rabbi. He says, it's not here. Can I just give it to you? The rabbi says, give me the envelope. I'll give it to the Rabbi. He takes the envelope and he puts it on the book, and then he got distracted. He closed the book, and the envelope was in the book. Okay. Forgot to tell the Rabbi. The Rabbi usually runs the finance in the shul. Okay, a week passed, 2 weeks passed. The Rabbi keeps seeing this individual walking in, and he says, why is he not paying? Everybody paid, and this guy is not paying. Of course, he didn't want to put him on the spot. He's waiting and waiting. Another few weeks passed, more weeks passed, and the Rabbi gets very upset. Goes to the rabbi and says, that so-and-so, he didn't pay. And before you know it, so he told this guy and told that guy, and before you know it, the whole community knows what's going on. He didn't pay. The shul needs money, depending on that. And the rumor starts spreading and spreading. And of course, before you know it, people start talking behind the back. Now he has a business. People don't want to go into the business. Suddenly he becomes, now everything is done quietly, not out in the open. This is another problem, but it's irrelevant. And before you know it, time passed, and the next year came. Of course, in that time, the person was completely wiped out. Everybody was against him. Business collapsed. Everything went bad, to a point that he had to leave the town. The next year came, and the rabbi came to the exact same page a year later for the parasha, and he opens up the book, and what does he see? He sees the envelope with the money. And he tells the Rabbi, look at this, here's the money. I forgot. He gave me the money then. Now go find him. They found him in some other town, brought him back, and the rabbi says they made a public apology, We're all sorry. He says, listen, your sorry is worthless. My life is already ruined. You ruined my life. I had to leave the town. My family was insulted. My kids, nobody wanted to marry them. I had to migrate to adultery. You already destroyed my life. Your apology is worthless. So, and I'm telling you the short version of the story and probably butchered a few details. But the point is, so many situations you judge wrong because of your narrow eye, your jealousy, your bitterness, your problem, and you put such judgment on somebody else, and you don't even know what's the background, what happened. And then, of course, that will lead anger, hate, jealousy, lashon hara, slandering. Why? Because I look at a situation and I'm not mature enough to, first of all, not to judge, or to come, ask, see what's going on. So, really what we want to take from that is that, listen, we all have a record. Neither one of us here is a saint. And even now that we're working real hard and we come to the Bet Knesset, to the shul 3 times a day, and we pray and we learn and we really try to work on ourselves, and we're growing. But we're not even close to being where we're supposed to be. In Hebrew there's a saying, you're not a talit that is all blue. You know the argument with Korach. He came to Moshe, that was the advice of his wife. And coming with a talit that is all blue and asking, questioning, does this talit, since it's all blue, like the string that we have to put in, is that overpowers the tzitzit and I don't need tzitzit. So in Hebrew we have a saying, you're not a talit that is all tchelet. So we're not perfect ourselves. But we tend to be very judgmental towards other people. When it comes to me, I'm not judgmental at all. So now especially that we not only want to correct the sin of Korach, we want to correct it in myself. The fact that Korach was judgmental is to teach me what it would birth. To a point that he went against the rabbi of the generation, the Moshe Rabbeinu of the generation. Really, when you're thinking about it, what goes into you? You're going against Moshe Rabbeinu. You found who to deal with. You couldn't pick up on somebody else. This is who you pick up on. So the Torah is coming to tell me, look what the stages are. You judge a situation wrong, causes you jealousy. As a result, you start slandering and lying and spreading gossip. And then you leave the world with the express train, but unfortunately to the wrong direction. So we need to take from that, I'm not saying it's easy, this is a hard part in my tshuva, it's a hard part in my lifestyle, to constantly judge things favorably. And then, you can add on judge favorably, giving the benefit of the doubt, and then is when I see a situation, is to not judge till I know that I will be in his situation. He, she, doesn't matter. And I see on myself, sometimes it makes me very upset, I see on myself how sometimes people come to me with accusations, and I see the whole dynamics, and I'm like, it's unbelievable how judgmental people are. You don't know nothing about the situation. You don't know any background. You don't know really what's going on here. And then you're pumping accusations. And what's the result? I'm telling you now, I'm dealing with a situation that a certain individual got the entire situation completely wrong. And I don't know if the judgmental part was first or the jealousy. There's something going on. And that person went bonkers. And of course, what was the end result of the bonkers? Spreading lies. About me, of course. And which is, what a surprise. I didn't know people can do such a thing. But what's mind-blowing mean that I see it in front of my face, I don't know, I don't want to talk to this person. But to tell, look how you judged the situation wrong. You didn't even get one detail right in what was going on here. So you judged the situation wrong. Inside of it was a lot of jealousy that came from not even about me. And what the result was, that I was shocked. I was like, we're not even in day 5. We didn't even start this journey, and this is where you got to. At least give it 40 days. some patience. And what was mind-blowing me is that it's not how judgmental can you be, it's how stupid can you be. Sorry that I'm using this word, but that's the reality. And you know what? I'm not saying it's easy, because every situation that I see, it's not easy to look at the situation and to pull the curtain of judging favorably. Maybe he was in a rush. Maybe she's under pressure. Maybe there's some financial problem. Maybe I can help in any type of a way. Etc., etc. I don't need to rub it in. I'm telling you, you have to be aware of how you're looking at the world. Now, if you're looking at the world through physical eyes, most likely you'll be judgmental. If you're looking at the world from a spiritual point of view, then you won't be so harsh. For that, then we're doing some type of a cleansing now. If you are tameh, if you are impure because of what you eat, because who you associate with, because of how you talk, because you're not even removing the schmutz, the jifa, the dirt from you, then of course you're going to be in such a low level that you're looking at the view from here and not looking for the view from here. If you're looking at the view from eye level, of course you don't see all the details. You're looking at the view from above, you see many more details. Now, not above of arrogance, above of altitude. So elevate yourself spiritually. You'll see things from above. You're not going to be so picky. You're not going to be katnuni. How do you say katnuni in English? How?
Childish, infantile.
Childish. Katnuni is more...
Infantile.
Infantile?
Yeah, we pick small things all the time.
Yeah, because some people are so katnuni.
Immature.
Immature, that's for sure immature. But katnuni is, like you said, picking on little details. Come on. Lit picking? Nitpicking. So the point is that I'm sure now you all relate with what I'm saying. Everybody's nodding. But to apply it, it's not so easy. You have two ways to apply it. The first of all is you have to refine yourself spiritually. That's the first thing you need to do. Because if you are sunk in impurity yourself, you are impure. So your thoughts are impure. The vision is not clear. If you elevate yourself spiritually, then you'll see things completely different. And then, of course, you have to be smart. Stop before you start and think, where will this take me? You know, even today, I'm telling you, this is a live situation. This is current situation. And I was very tempted to, do I say anything? Do I not say anything? What is my position? Silence sometimes is agreeing. I don't want to necessarily show that I'm agreeing. And the conclusion that I came is that I don't need to deal with this. This is literally the Yetzer Hara trying to pull me into a disagreement, into an argument, into becoming judgmental. So what do I have to apply now? Not to be judgmental towards the person that was judgmental towards me. Because I can be very judgmental. How dare she? Where does she come up with the chutzpah? What kind of a fool watches my classes all day long and doesn't even get a word that I'm saying? I could be so wrapped around it. But what's the right method? To judge that person favorably, who goes and slanders my name and spreads lies and doing a whole big geschrei right now. To judge that person favorably. Just in Hebrew we say afuch al afuch. You have to come with, I don't even know how to translate that, I'm not going to even try. The point to say here is that take that very personal. Take that and really apply it in your life, because I see disasters from this little quality that really pulls us down. The Lashon Hara, by the way, that usually comes after. A person doesn't just wake up in the morning and start slandering a person. Something was cooking before that. Either jealousy or that you judge the situation so wrong that it develops hate, anger, feelings of competitive. Maybe he opened the same business in front of me. Or whatever it is, you use your imagination. A person doesn't wake up in the morning and says to them, I'm going to slander this individual. The slandering comes later. So you have to really take it so deep into your heart. Now to apply that you really get applause if you master that. To a point that everybody, you give them the benefit of the doubt. You don't run into right away arguments, disagreements, development. Usually what happens when somebody gets into this situation, they don't function. It's running in their head all day long. How dare she say this to me? I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that. You're already running all the scenes in your mind. What are you going to say? What's going to be your comeback when they come and say this? And who needs this headache? It's like occupying your mind with junk. So maybe we'll have to do a few more classes about that. But since we're in the beginning of the way, I'm telling you already that's a big obstacle. That's why we just read Korach, Parashat Korach. Because as great as he was, and he had great qualities, this little minor problem of judging the situation wrong, look what it took him and many people with him. Can you imagine if he would approach Moshe Rabbeinu and say, listen, I have a dilemma, I don't know. Maybe there's a problem, come and... Can you imagine if he would approach Moshe Rabbeinu? There's no indication that he approached Moshe Rabbeinu and told him, listen, there's a situation here. Let's try to figure it out before it goes to the press. So let's take the advice of what the Torah is telling me and be very cautious. Don't look at the world with physical eyes because you're going to behave like an animal. Look at the world from spiritual eyes. You're going to behave like a soul. So, and really one of the methods is that you have to refine yourself. A refined individual doesn't judge right away. That's why to become a judge, a Jewish judge, not a Judge Judy, talking about a Dayan, you have to be a very high level individual because can't be any feelings involved here. This is Din Tzedek. And unfortunately I've seen Dayanim that were corrupt. So we have to be also judges in a situation. So the first thing is you refine yourself. Second of all, you put yourself in that situation. And the third method is judge yourself all the time. Yourself, you can judge. A lot of people say, don't be so harsh on yourself. Oh, yeah, you don't have to be harsh, but judge yourself. When I get judgmental towards somebody, I right away will start judging myself. I remember once I was in some shul, and somebody was talking in the Knesset. It got me very upset. I didn't want to it got me very upset. And it bothered me to pray. I couldn't pray. I was very upset because he couldn't stop talking and loud and on the phone and making noise. And come on, put your phone on silent. I had the worst prayer. And I was very angry. And in the end I was like, you know what, look how much mess he's doing, this guy. But he came to shul before me. Shut up. That's how I shut myself up. He was here before you. He came early. You came late. I was late that day. So I was like, okay, he talks and makes noise. I was late. So be judgmental toward yourself. I got from that Hashem is telling me, don't judge other people for their faults. First look at your faults. Once you mastered your faults, then we'll move to other people's faults. But that said, this is one of the hard ones. I think we're going to have to do a few more classes about that one. But the key here, refine yourself, that spiritually you are refined, because you're going to have a much higher view of things. You're going to see things from a higher place, not from a eye-to-eye level. Second of all, you have to really see the situation as it is and not to be judgmental. I'm not saying it's easy. And of course, to always point the finger at yourself. I'm not that great myself. Let me deal with myself. I see sometimes people complaining, whining, saying all sorts of things. And in some cases, my answer is, why don't you first deal with your own issues before you point at somebody else? Let's see you first working on yourself for 10 years. And when you reach to a higher level, then start talking about other people. You're also not a shining star. When you're going to be in a very high level, then you can start pointing at other people. And of course, like I said, not easy to do. Easier said than done, but at least it has to be acknowledged. Even if you get to a point that you acknowledge that you are judgmental, that's already a higher level. Because at least you know there's a problem. Then you start working on it. I definitely can tell you that refining yourself spiritually makes you see things in a completely different way. You're more forgiving. You see a broader picture. You know, when you're driving in the highway and in traffic, you only see a few cars forward. You get upset. The helicopter in the air sees the entire highway. He sees exactly what's going on. He sees the car accident in the front. If you would see there's a car accident in the front, maybe you'd be a little bit more patient. Says, okay, poor people, there's a car, maybe he's injured. So I can tell you one more tip is that be in a very, what's the right word? In a very objective way, be judgmental of how many times you are judgmental. When I was really working on my own tshuva, I would constantly write things. I told you, when I became observant and I wanted to stop lying, it was my focus. No lies, no lies. Every time that a lie will come out of my mouth, I would write it down. I would write out the time and what the lie was. And then I would read the list at the end of the day when I would say Kirat Shema Lamita and find 40 lies, 50 lies, 60 lies, and nonsense. Not you would say, no, I'm going after mega millions. Really nonsense. To see how ridiculous it is. On what am I losing my spiritual status? So you do the same thing. You want to see how judgmental you are. Every time that you're judgmental, take a note and write down. 233. I saw this situation and I judged it according to this and that. You'll see how judgmental you are. Some people, they know it without me telling them. But the point is, it has to be addressed and then it has to be dealt with. Because that's a key to many, many, many problems. That we jump the gun. That's why our sages say, who's a wise person? The one who sees what will birth the situation. Sometimes you can see, listen, I'm going to take it a little bit further. This is going to be a big problem. Let me leave it here. Let me see really what's the problem. Bezrat Hashem, our sages say, Habali ta'er mesayin oto. You come to purify yourself, you'll get assistance from above. So hopefully, this is not going to be big of a challenge, but this is one big thing that we have to apply into our journey, and this is for sure not done after 40 days. This can take you 40 years. But this is a big, big pillar in our tikkun, is how I look at the world. Because don't forget that how I judge other people, eventually that's how people or the heavenly court will judge me. This is called midah keneged midah, measure for measure. What I throw out there, that's how it's going to come back at me. I judge people harsh, people will judge me harsh. Judge people favorably, I'm more forgiving, I'm more easygoing, that's how it's going to be directed at me at the end of the day. And needless to say that, like I told you, it puts too much poison in your mind. When the mind is occupied with junk, then you'll see, you don't sleep well because somebody said something and you're tossing and turning and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and you don't really know what happened here. It's like going in a maze. You don't see from above. You just see bumping into walls. Tov, may Hashem open our eyes. We pray every day. Tach libi betoratecha. We should pray to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, open my eyes. We say a prayer in the morning, pokeach ivrim. In the morning prayers, the ones who open the eyes of blind, have in your intention, open my eyes to see things as they are. That's a big, big thing. We're going to go, by the way, next quarter, a lot about prayers. We're going to really dissect prayers. Because if you have the right focus and intention on the certain prayer, then you actually utilize what the prayer is from. What for? I mean, in the morning you say, bless you, the Master of the universe that opens the eyes of blind people. I'm not blind. Why do I have to say this bracha? Well, I'm sorry to tell you, my friend, you're blind to most of the reality in front of you. And when you are super judgmental, you are blind. So we ask Hashem, open my eyes. I want to see the truth. And I want to see that He's the right one and He's the wrong one when I'm thinking that it's completely the opposite. Bezrat Hashem, then we'll go already next week, more utilizing the brachot. But for now, it has to come into our awareness that this is a danger. And this judgmental approach is a danger to me. It's not going to take me to any good place. Especially when we see now what happened to Korach. So Bezrat Hashem, Hashem should really open our eyes to see the reality as it is and to be judging everybody the right way, and then to get to a level that I don't judge anybody. Hashem is the judge. I'm just here for the ride. This is a much higher level. Let Hashem judge. Leave me out. You'll see you'll have a much easier life, less bumpy ride. You put yourself out. No, I don't want to get into this right now. Tov, Hashem should bless us to be successful at everything that we do.